Hey guys, before this video starts, I want to give a big thanks to Mr. Terror for helping me out with this video. He's a great narrator, and he's got some quality scary content over on his channel, so be sure to check him out. And while you're there, be sure to check out part 2 of our collaboration. I've linked the video and his channel in the description below. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoy. This happened in June or July of 1992, at around 5 p.m. in southern Maryland. This is a rather short encounter because I was riding in a car and basically saw it and rode past it. I've been past the site hundreds of times since then, but I've never gotten out and walked around the area. Maybe I should. This encounter changed my life. When I read the encounters on this sub and hear other people's stories, I never discount them. Why? Because I know what I saw, and who am I to question someone else's experience? Sure, there are a lot of made-up stories and creepypastas out there, but I strive to find credible sounding accounts and share them with you all. Here's my personal experience. It was evening, and my family and I were coming back from Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, from having dinner with my brother, mom, and dad. I was 15 or 16, and in the back right passenger seat, chilling with my brother. Riding along, I'm just looking out the window, and there's a little road that merges onto the main road on the left. So as we merge, we pick up a little speed. We're going maybe 25 or 30 miles an hour, and you have to cross this little bridge, and it's really bumpy, so we slowed down even more. Once we did that, I look up ahead, and about 75 yards in front of us, I see something standing on the wood's edge, off to the right a little. It was about 7 foot tall, maybe even taller. It had a face that looked like a wolf, only larger, like a dire wolf from Game of Thrones. Really broad shoulders, muscular arms, a barrel chest, and it narrowed the rest of the way down. It was covered in medium length, dark brown hair. I didn't get a great look at the legs because it locked eyes with me. It knew I saw it, and it saw me. I saw it a good distance up ahead and was like, "What the hell is that?" As soon as I said that, it looked at me. I saw it for a good 10 or 15 seconds because of how far up ahead I first noticed it. It took my breath when I first realized what I was looking at, and my first thought was, God, that thing is ugly. It had very pointy features, and it didn't look like classic Bigfoot, but an actual werewolf. A lot of people call it a dogman, but I'm more inclined to say wolfman. I said out loud to my family, "Did you guys see that?" Obviously, they were like, "See what?" Another thing, this was in southern Maryland, where there are no bears or any other large animals. So that was my encounter. My family still doesn't believe me, and most people think I'm crazy or lying, so I very rarely tell anyone about it. But it was real, and it was there. And what bothers me is, why was it there? And where did it come from?
Time, January 30th, 2018, approximately 11:30 p.m. at night. Place, South Texas, apartment complex parking lot near a green belt. Persons involved, myself and my best friend. Drugs, alcohol consumption? None. We were both sober, and I don't do drugs. Scenario. After a stressful day at work, I had gone over to my friend's apartment to shoot the breeze, eat some food, and play a few games on my friend's PlayStation 4. It was getting late, and I had to be up fairly early the next day. My friend walked me out to the parking lot to my car. There was no one else in the parking lot, just us two. As I was unlocking my car, a dog walked out from the side of a nearby building, roughly 25 feet away. It came fully into view and stopped to look at us. It was a little bit bigger than a standard Great Dane. It was all black with long hair that appeared to be falling out in clumps. It had long ears and a long, scraggly tail. I remember making eye contact with it. It had dark, maroon-colored eyes, and in the moment we locked eyes, it smiled at us. But instead of a dog's lip going up and back, the lips went slightly sideways and I saw white, human teeth. I recall getting a feeling of dread and fear. I felt like it was something disguised as a dog and pretending to be a dog. Only it wasn't a dog. I'm certain of it. The energy coming off of this thing didn't feel dog-like. I don't know how else to describe it, but my hair went up on end. It turned around from us and began limping slowly back around the corner from where it had stepped out from. It seemed to have most of its weight on its front legs, walking with a hunched back. When it was limping away, I noticed its rear left foot was wrapped in blue gauze, and the foot looked very odd. The heel was actually parallel to the ground. I am unsure if my friend saw exactly what I saw, but she suddenly said, "It's leaving, let's follow it," and she ran after the damn thing after it disappeared around the corner. I remember being scared for my friend, so I went sprinting after her. I rounded the corner to find my friend looking around confused. The dog thing was gone. At the rate that it was walking and limping, and given the close proximity to us, which again was no more than 25 feet, there was no way that it could have disappeared that quickly. The air was suddenly extremely cold, even for South Texas January. My teeth were chattering, and I told my friend to quickly go back to her apartment, lock the door, and stay inside. I warned her that that thing was not a dog, and told her that I would text her when I got home. Once safe at home, I texted my friend and thought that that was going to be the end of it. But even as I settled into bed, my heart was racing. It didn't help that, around 12 a.m., there was a low whistling right outside my window. My neighbor's house isn't too far from mine, but they're good people, and there is no logical reason for them to be that close to my window at night, whistling. I didn't make any indication that I was aware of the whistling. It wasn't even musical, just the sort of whistle someone is giving if they're trying to get attention. Eventually, the whistling stopped and I heard nothing else. I had trouble sleeping. I haven't seen anything or experienced anything like it since. My big question is, what was that thing?
So, this is the first time I'm actually sharing this experience with anyone, and it's taken me quite a while to be able to tell it, because ever since this happens, I haven't been the same. I don't sleep as well, constant nightmares, and have been getting generally more ill and just traumatized. My brother has been as well. Last summer, in July, I was visiting my brother, who happens to live in northern Michigan, in a town called Rapid City. The place itself is pretty close to the Traverse State Forest area, in which a long road runs through it called Supply Road. This road has thick forests and brush on both sides, with occasional farms. We had went down south to Fife Lake, which is only about a 30-minute drive from where he lives. He wanted to show me around the area and the lake itself, and have some fun with photography. It was about 9 p.m. when we finally decided to call it a day, and it was pretty dark at this point. On the way back, we're both like, fuck it, let's drive through the Traverse State Forest for a more scenic route, even though it was a bit out of the way. We both love the woods and going through scenic routes, and I love getting to see new parts of Michigan. As we pulled on the supply road, it didn't seem more than 10 minutes or so before we had our experience with whatever the hell we saw. We're going north on the road, and on the left side is about 10 or so feet of clearing with just dirt and grass before it hits thick brush and trees. It was a little after 9 p.m. at this point, and as we're driving, I'm in the passenger seat. I noticed this large, black dog on the side of the road, but something about it wasn't right. It looked like it was crouched down as a human being would, waiting to jump out or something. It wasn't looking over in our direction, but you could tell its head was canine. As we got closer and the lights actually started to shine on it, it immediately turned its head towards us and stood up and made this horrible hissing sound. I don't know how else to describe it. Both my brother and I turned sheet white at this point, and he slammed on the brakes about 30 feet from it. I don't even know what to call it. I want to say werewolf because that's the only thing that really describes what it looked like. Maybe it was a skinwalker. I don't know. It had piercing, sharp yellow eyes that, for some reason, didn't reflect at all when the light hit them. And they almost seemed to glow on their own, which was creepy as fuck in itself. This thing had a longer snout, very sharp pointed ears, and was massively tall. When it hissed at us, you could see how sharp and massive its teeth were, and how fast it stood up scared us both. This thing honestly looked like something out of a horror movie, as if CGI actually looked real. We had our windows rolled down, and suddenly the smell hit us. What I can only describe as garbage, decaying flesh, and wet dog. We didn't really smell it until after it stood up and we had slammed on our brakes. This thing was about 8 or 9 feet tall. It wasn't bulky per se, but it was big and extremely lean. It looked like an extremely muscular human male body. I didn't see any genitalia. It was covered in very shaggy dark hair, with fingers like claws, like what you'd see in a typical werewolf movie. We only got to stare at it for what seemed like a few seconds, before it let out this horrible scream that shook me to my core. It immediately started to pace toward our truck aggressively, with its claws baring and teeth baring, as if it were extremely agitated. Me and my brother screamed at the top of our lungs, and floored it. He literally spat all the way home, and we didn't say a word the entire way. We didn't sleep at all that night, and I haven't been the same person ever since. What I saw that night truly terrified me.